Imagine you're sitting with your grandchild, reading a story. Your voice is steady. They're listening, eyes wide with wonder. And then suddenly, you can't speak. Your right arm feels heavy. Your vision begins to blur. And just like that. You can't call for help. No crash, no scream. Just a terrifying silence. Inside your own body. Sounds like a rare, dramatic scene? I wish it were. As a brain doctor, I've seen this exact moment unfold far too many times, and often at the most unsuspecting time of all, while the person was sleeping. What startled me wasn't the number of cases. It was what they all had in common. None of them smoked, none of them ate fried foods or relied on sleeping pills. In fact, they were the health-conscious type, older adults who ate clean, exercised daily, and followed what many experts recommend. They ate nuts before bed, a handful of almonds to sleep better, a spoonful of peanut butter to fight midnight hunger, some cashews or pistachios while watching the evening news. Sound familiar? We've been taught to trust anything labeled natural. But your body at age 60 is not the same as it was at 30. Your kidneys filter more slowly. Your blood vessels tighten more easily. Your blood pressure swings more wildly during sleep. And your brain becomes far more fragile to even the smallest changes. And if you're taking blood pressure meds, blood thinners, or hormone treatments, just one small trigger at the wrong time can tip your body's delicate balance. At night, when the body naturally dehydrates, hormone levels shift, and blood thickens, that so-called healthy handful of nuts might quietly light a fuse inside your brain's blood vessels. It's not what we know that scares us. It's what we think is right, but is silently wrong in ways we never imagined. So, which type of nuts may silently harm aging brains, especially when eaten at the wrong time and in the wrong way? And how can you tell if a healthy snack is truly nourishing you or gambling with your clarity? Let's start with the most beloved nut of them all, almonds. They sound like the perfect health food, but after hearing Mr. Gerald's story, you may want to think twice. If we had to pick one nut that older adults love most for their health, almonds would be right at the top. They're full of healthy fats, packed with vitamin E, promoted for heart health, glowing skin, and even memory support. And most of all, they just feel safe. Gerald Thompson, a 70-year-old retired firefighter from Ohio, believed all of that. Every night, like clockwork, he would settle into his recliner, read the paper, and snack on a bowl of almonds, a small ritual he thought was keeping him healthy. "Almonds are heart-healthy," he'd say proudly. And he wasn't wrong. But here's what Gerald and millions of others never knew. Almonds are extremely high in oxalates, a plant compound that binds with calcium in the blood, forming tiny crystals that can lodge into blood vessel walls. Over time, these deposits stiffen arteries, reduce flexibility, and slowly narrow the flow of blood to the brain. In younger adults, the body can manage and flush out excess oxalates. But in seniors where vessels are already aging and kidneys filter more slowly, especially at night when the body is slightly dehydrated, this creates a perfect storm for a silent stroke. Gerald went to bed like any other night, but at 5:30 a.m. his wife found him unable to speak. His face was drooping, his left arm wouldn't move. The diagnosis: ischemic stroke, no diabetes, no high cholesterol, no smoking. But blood tests showed abnormally high levels of oxalate and calcium. His carotid arteries were hardened, All signs pointed to long-term oxalate buildup from a habit that felt completely harmless. The scariest part, almonds don't taste dangerous. They're crunchy, slightly sweet, clean, and they give a sense of control. But for older adults, kidneys no longer flush oxalates efficiently. Blood vessels in the brain are more fragile. And one healthy habit, done at the wrong time, can quietly tip everything out of balance. Since the stroke, Gerald hasn't been able to drive. He can't dress himself without help. And during a follow-up visit, he looked at me with quiet, stunned eyes and said, "I thought I was doing something smart. I didn't know one handful of nuts could take away my independence." That's the silent cost many older adults end up paying. Not because they made the wrong choice, but because they followed the right advice blindly. So if you or a loved one are still eating almonds every night, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I truly nourishing my brain? Or am I unknowingly planting a time bomb inside it? And if you think almonds are the biggest risk, wait until you hear about the next nut one that looks clean, creamy, and heart-friendly. But maybe secretly spiking your blood pressure while you sleep. In the world of nuts, cashews are often seen as the gentle friend of heart health. They're soft, easy to chew, not as tough as almonds, and rich in magnesium, a mineral known to support cardiovascular health and help relax blood vessels. For many older adults, cashews feel like the perfect snack. No sugar, no frying, no chemicals. So, they must be perfectly safe, right? That false sense of safety is exactly what worries me the most. I'll never forget Mrs. Linda Carver, an 80-year-old retired librarian from Pennsylvania. She lived a tidy, principled life. She took her blood pressure meds on schedule, never touched sweets, and every night around 9 p.m., she gave herself a little treat, watching her favorite game show with a small bowl of salted cashews. "They're good, aren't they, Doctor? Better than cookies, right?" she once asked me with a smile. Until one morning, she woke up feeling dizzy, her head buzzing, her steps shaky. As she tried to walk to the kitchen, she nearly collapsed. Her blood pressure at the ER was 192/106, a level high enough to trigger a stroke if her blood vessels were fragile. But there was no bleeding, no clots. She hadn't missed a single dose of medication. So, what happened? The answer was in that innocent bowl of cashews. Like most store-bought cashews, the ones Linda ate were roasted with salt. Even those labeled lightly salted are often far saltier than people realize. Just one small handful can contain over 100 milliliters of sodium. Linda had 2, sometimes 3 handfuls every night for years. No one ever told her that after age 60, the body doesn't process sodium the same way. The kidneys slow down. Blood vessels become more sensitive. And the most dangerous part? Salt can silently reduce the effectiveness of blood pressure meds, especially when eaten at night. While you're sleeping, your medication is working. But if a high sodium load pushes your blood pressure in the opposite direction, your brain's fragile blood vessels get caught in a dangerous tug-of-war. And in that tug-of-war, the brain almost always loses. Linda didn't have a stroke that night, but after that hallway fall, she had to wear an overnight BP monitor. She needed someone nearby at night, and she no longer felt safe living alone. At her follow-up appointment, she gently held my hand and said, "I thought a few cashews would help me sleep. I never imagined they'd take away my peace of mind." That's the real danger. What we think is keeping us healthy can slowly chip away at the freedom and independence we value most. If you've been snacking on cashews before bed, I'm not saying you have to stop completely, but at the very least, switch to the unsalted kind. Eat them during the day, not before sleep. And don't go beyond a small handful. After age 60, even a little extra salt at night can become fuel for a fire while you sleep. And if you thought cashews were the biggest hidden threat, wait until you hear about a luxury nut, often found in gift baskets, praised for heart health, but secretly contributing to brain artery damage day by day without you knowing it. Among all the nuts out there, macadamias have always had a luxury reputation. They're often found in holiday gift baskets, expensive healthy nut mixes, and even in heart-smart Mediterranean diet plans. Buttery, smooth, rich in heart-healthy fats. That's the message you'll find in almost every article. But like most foods praised a little too much, macadamias come with a hidden side, especially for older adults. Take Mr. James Hollis, 81, a retired postal worker from Arizona. After retiring, he made a decision to live healthier. Every morning, a small spoonful of macadamias with coffee. Every evening, a few more with his herbal tea. "They help keep my heart strong," he told me with complete confidence. And he wasn't entirely wrong. But what no one ever explained to him was how to use them wisely. Macadamias are packed with monounsaturated fats, the kind of fat everyone assumes is always good. But if consumed excessively, without enough fiber, without omega-3s to balance, those good fats can silently raise LDL, the bad cholesterol, the sticky kind that clings to blood vessels and builds plaque. And for an 80-year-old body where the liver processes fats slower, blood vessels are narrower, thinner, and weaker, even a tiny bit of extra LDL each day can eventually stack up to disaster. Mr. Hollis didn't have a heart attack, but one morning he woke up with a slight droop in his mouth, stiff hands, and slurred speech. A brain scan revealed a transient ischemic attack, TIA, a mini-stroke. The culprit wasn't bacon, sugar, or alcohol. It was years of well-meaning but uninformed macadamia snacking. Just 10 macadamia nuts carry nearly 200 calories and 20 grams of fat. For seniors, this isn't just healthy fuel. It becomes a burden, especially if the body isn't cleaning up properly, with greens, omega-3s, water, and daily movement. I still remember the way Mr. Hollis looked at me and shook his head. "I thought macadamias were the food of the health-conscious. I never imagined they'd leave me leaning on a cane for the rest of my life." I don't blame him. And I'm not here to say macadamias are bad. But here's the truth. No food is perfectly healthy if it's eaten blindly. So if you're eating macadamias daily, ask yourself, am I balancing them with leafy greens, fatty fish, or flax seeds? Am I watching my total daily fat intake? Do I have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, or take statins? If you can't answer confidently, then treat macadamias as a rare luxury, not a daily routine. Because once brain arteries become hardened, even the tiniest clot could take away your speech, your movement, or even you, and you might never know it was coming. And if you thought macadamias were the highest risk, wait until you learn about a tiny green nut, often tossed into diet snacks, but carrying enough sodium to silently undo years of blood pressure control. If we had to name a nut with the most harmless-looking appearance, pistachios would easily top the list. Light green and eye-catching, small, easy to shell. Not as hard as almonds, not as rich as macadamias. You'll find them everywhere in airport snack packs, party nut bowls, or in those healthy snack bags labeled organic or keto-friendly. Many older adults even believe pistachios are the smart choice, a guilt-free substitute for chips, cookies, or sweets before bedtime. Mrs. Gloria Westbrook, 85, from Michigan, believed the same. Every night as she watched the evening news, she'd snack on a few salted pistachios. "Better than chips," she would say, with the confidence of someone who spent 40 years teaching in classrooms. And she wasn't wrong. Pistachios are better than chips, unless they're salted enough to quietly push a brain vessel to the brink. One morning, Mrs. Gloria woke up and felt the entire room spinning. She stumbled into the hallway and collapsed onto the floor. At the ER, her blood pressure measured 198, 112, a dangerously high number at any age, let alone 85. She was lucky. It wasn't a stroke. But brain scans showed mild swelling, stretched blood vessels, and signs of a massive blood pressure spike during sleep. When we reviewed her medications, her sleep, and her diet, nothing had changed. Except one thing. The bowl of salted pistachios she ate every night. Pistachios by nature are nutritious, packed with antioxidants, plant protein, potassium. But the problem isn't the nut itself, it's the salt that rides along. Most pistachios on store shelves, even those labeled lightly salted, contain up to 200 milligrams of sodium per small serving. For younger people, the kidneys flush out that extra sodium easily. But for seniors especially, after 7 p.m. salt tends to hang around in the bloodstream, raising pressure on delicate brain vessels while you sleep. Here's what gives me chills. The blood pressure meds you take during the day. They're working fine. But one handful of salty pistachios at night, that can completely cancel out the effect of your meds for the next 6 to 8 hours. And that overnight surge in blood pressure? That's when the risk of brain hemorrhage is highest. One small, thin, aged vessel stretched past its limit can rupture, and by the time it happens, there's no warning, no second chance. Mrs. Gloria didn't suffer a stroke, but she never regained her balance. Now she uses a walker. She needs overnight monitoring. When she looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Honey, it was just a few pistachios. I never thought they'd take away my ability to stand on my own." Pistachios aren't evil, but when they're salted, eaten late, and eaten daily, they turn into a tiny sodium bomb, quietly building up pressure in your blood vessels every night. If you still want to enjoy them, choose raw, unsalted pistachios. Eat them in the afternoon, and drink plenty of water. Not because you have to be strict, but because your brain can no longer tolerate the cute little mistakes that once didn't matter. And if you think pistachios are the final item on this risk list, wait until we take a closer look at that jar of peanut butter sitting quietly in your kitchen, the one many seniors trust as soft, healthy, easy to eat, but may actually be a silent destroyer of your blood vessels and your memory in the years to come. Part 2, Point 5, Peanut Butter. Soft, comforting, but silently breaking your blood vessels. There's something that still weighs on my mind after many patient cases. Not a medication, not a diagnosis. It's a spoonful of peanut butter. Something so familiar, so loved and often seen as the perfect soft food for older adults. For many seniors, peanut butter feels comforting, soft, no chewing needed, and packed with energy. Some even use it as a dinner substitute, a slice of bread, a banana, and a generous scoop of peanut butter, just enough to feel full, and still healthy. But the very thing that soothes you might be slowly damaging your brain's blood vessels every night. I still remember Mr. Don Willis, 79 years old, a retired veteran living alone in Kentucky. He cooked for himself, shopped by himself, lived independently, and was proud of that. Every evening he had the same light meal, a slice of whole grain bread, a banana, and a heaping spoonful of natural peanut butter. "Just a little, Doc. I read it's good for the heart, has protein, no sugar," he told me, smiling genuinely. But over several months, he started feeling unusually fatigued. Mornings were tough. He woke up dizzy, heavy-legged, foggy-headed. One night he got out of bed, lost balance, and hit his head on the table. At the hospital, tests showed sudden high blood pressure, stiff arteries, and elevated cholesterol, even though he was taking his statins regularly. Then came the lab results that gave me pause. Slightly elevated sodium and LDL, widespread vascular inflammation, and abnormally high triglycerides. Everything pointed to a commonly overlooked culprit: industrial peanut butter. The brand Mr. Don used, like most natural store-bought types, still contained added salt, sugar, and hydrogenated vegetable oils. Just 2 tablespoons held nearly 200 milliliters of sodium, hidden sugars, and unhealthy fats, enough to raise blood pressure, trigger vascular inflammation, and worsen lipid imbalances. And this is especially harmful at night, when metabolism slows down. In older adults, the liver no longer processes fats efficiently. The blood vessel lining, called the endothelium, becomes thinner and more fragile. And just one small hit every night can tip it over the edge. After that fall, Mr. Don needed a nurse 3 days a week. He no longer drove. He couldn't climb stairs. One afternoon, he looked at me quietly and said, "I thought peanut butter was helping me live well. I didn't know it was slowly taking away the independence I worked so hard to keep." I don't blame him, and I'm not telling you to eliminate peanut butter entirely. But I do want you to understand the difference between a healthy food and a healthy food at 70 is huge. If you still enjoy peanut butter, read the label carefully. Choose a version with only one ingredient: peanuts, no added sugar, salt, or oils. Avoid eating it at night, especially if you're taking blood pressure or cholesterol medications. And never let something tasty, soft, convenient become a shortcut to permanent damage in your brain's blood vessels. We've now covered 5 different types of nuts and seeds, each with their own value, but each also hiding a dark side when used at the wrong time, in the wrong way, or at the wrong age. So if even the good foods carry hidden risks, what should we actually eat? What truly supports a brain that's aging and deserves protection every single day? I know after hearing all those stories, you might be feeling a bit uneasy, maybe even a little disheartened. Why do the very things we thought were clean and healthy end up causing harm? If almonds, cashews, pistachios, peanut butter all come with risks, then what can older adults eat? I understand that question deeply. Because Margaret Lane, a 73-year-old retired nurse from Minnesota, once looked me in the eye and asked the very same thing, her voice tired and searching. I eat nuts every day. I take fish oil. I use brain supplements. But my mind keeps getting foggier, my limbs weaker, and I can't sleep well anymore. The problem wasn't that she was lacking something. The problem was that she was doing the right things, but at the wrong time, in the wrong way, for the wrong age. So we did something surprisingly simple. No extra pills, no trendy supplements. We stripped everything back and focused only on real food. Simple, digestible, and well-timed to let her body rest, recover, and be properly nourished. Her mornings started like this. A soft-boiled egg rich in choline and natural protein to support memory. Half an avocado, a gentle source of potassium and healthy fat to keep blood vessels flexible. A slice of whole grain bread to provide steady energy without spiking blood sugar. A small spoonful of ground flax seeds or walnuts to deliver omega-3s and gentle fiber for brain-friendly circulation. A glass of warm water to stimulate early morning blood flow without chilling the gut. Lunch didn't have to be fancy. A bowl of vegetable soup with lentils, or steamed salmon with boiled greens. A few fresh berries, blueberries, strawberries, or black grapes, enough to nourish her brain with antioxidants. And most importantly, no late-night eating. After 7 p.m., no more peanut butter, no more healthy snacks, just warm water, maybe a few steamed sweet potato cubes if she felt hungry, and a full, restful night's sleep. 3 weeks later, Margaret came back radiant. "I don't just feel better, doctor. I feel clear again." Her blood pressure was stable. She walked straighter. No more dizziness in the mornings, and most importantly, she could finally sleep without fear. That is the quiet power of eating the right way at the right time for the right person. No need for a long list of rules. No need for expensive foods. No need for magical superfoods. Just stop chasing trends and start listening to what your own body is asking for. It might need warm water, not an icy smoothie. 1 egg, not an expensive brain supplement. Stability, not variety for the sake of a pretty plate on social media. If your body feels like it's slowing down, maybe it's not just age. Maybe you've simply been feeding it the wrong things for what your brain truly needs. And if you're ready to start over, there's no need to go extreme. Just one simple, gentle, well-timed breakfast might be enough to let your brain finally exhale. If you've made it this far, I believe you're not just looking for another health tip. You're doing something far more meaningful. You're learning how to listen to your own body through the ears of someone who's heard both good advice and bad. And maybe, just maybe, you're like millions of others who once believed a handful of nuts at night is good for the heart. A spoonful of peanut butter helps you feel full and sleep better. Swapping sweets for a few cashews is a smart choice. None of that is wrong. But it may no longer be right if you're in your 60s, 70s, or beyond. After 60, everything inside you begins to shift quietly. Blood vessels become more fragile. The liver and kidneys work more slowly. Blood pressure fluctuates more intensely during sleep. And the brain can no longer tolerate small hits of salt, sugar, or certain nutrients the way it once could. The sad part, no one ever taught us this. There's no warning label when you buy natural peanut butter or a bag of lightly salted pistachios. No alarm sounds when a healthy snack leaves you waking up with blood pressure at 180 and legs that won't steady. That's why the most important thing I hope you take away from this video isn't fear, but awareness. Awareness that food is not simply good or bad. It's either right or wrong for the stage of life your body is in. Your brain doesn't need 10 brain supplements. It just needs you to pause for a moment before every food choice. And most of all, you don't have to become a perfect eater. You just have to become someone who understands your body and cares for it, like an old friend in need of gentleness. So tomorrow morning, when you open the fridge, when you reach for that familiar bag of nuts, I hope you pause for just 3 seconds and ask yourself, is this food nourishing my brain, or is it quietly stealing away the clarity I hope to keep for life? Thank you for being here. If there's one thing I hope you take with you from this video, it's this. You don't have to do more. You just have to do what's right at the right time, with a heart that listens. And if you found this video helpful, leave a comment below. Now I understand what my brain truly needs. Or share a habit you want to change starting today. So together, we can become more mindful, more present versions of ourselves.